All right, I'm going to be talking us through creating an automation framework. I'm going to start from scratch. So, if you've got Video Studio 2019, you can start by creating a new project. So, the project we're going to be creating is going to be an end unit project. So, unit test project, .NET framework. Okay, I'll select that. Create a new project. I'll just call this test automation practice. It's going to be saved in the repo. I'll create that. Okay, it's creating the project. Okay, so what we're going to start first is to delete this default class. We don't need that. I'll go ahead and delete this. Then I would then right click on reference and install the references, the libraries that we need for this project. So right click on reference, click on manage NuGet packages. So these are the default ones. We're going to delete this, uninstall them. And also uninstall this as well. Okay, so there are a couple of things that we need to install to get this to work. The first one I'm going to be selecting is spec flow. We need spec flow, so I'll search for spec flow in the browse section. So we're going to have to install spec flow, install the latest on the project. That is getting installed. Then we're going to install spec flow end unit as well. Then we're going to install, that is installed as well, to MS Builder. That has also been installed. Okay, so now what we need to then install is the NUnit adapter. NUnit test adapter. Install that. Then we go ahead and install Selenium. We're gonna be needing Selenium WebDriver. So we're gonna be installing the WebDriver, the Selenium support, and then we're also gonna be installing the WebDriver for Chrome. So WebDriver, Chrome driver. Okay, so now that we've installed all our um, references, all our libraries, Also, when you install the Chrome driver, ensure that the version of your browser is the same one as the Chrome driver you've installed. So after installing all that, we should be set to go. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to create our folder structure. So there's a best practice, you don't have to do it, but there's always a best practice just to keep your work tidy. So I'm going to be creating 4 folders, and they are, first one is a folder for pages. Then we'll create a folder for our feature file. So every test starts from a feature file. Features, then pages, then also we're going to create a folder for our step definitions. Step definitions. And then also we're going to create a folder called setup. That is where we're going to put in our context class. Setup folder. Okay, so we're not going to do, because this is for interview purposes, we're not going to be going deep and creating all the other folders. Okay, so what we're going to start with, you know, the way the test runs is you create a feature file, then you bind it to your step definition, and your step definition talks to your hooks, and then your hooks, then obviously picks up the pages and then does everything it has to do. So it goes in that loop. So what I'm going to start with now is create um, our feature file, which obviously would contain the acceptance criteria that we're testing. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create a feature file now. So if you right click on here, you had a class, and then you select spec flow feature file, and then you name it. So you need to first explore the um, application under test. So at the moment, the application we're running is just running an application, just being able to go to, we just want to be able to go to cnn.com and click on any link that we want. So we'll first explore that, then we'll create a feature file. So I'm going to start by creating a feature file and just call it. So what we're going to be doing is we will be going to bbc.com and clicking on the search, type in Nigeria, and then we expect to see news of Nigeria coming out. So we first need to explore our application under test. So if I go to bbc.co.uk and then I click on search, and then I put Nigeria, and then that should bring me, and I click on search, that should then bring me the search result. Okay, so that's our application under test. So we're going to be writing a feature file. So I can write a feature file for verify. I can use search bar, so I can say search feature. Okay, if I click on add, that would add a default file. So we're not going to be using this. So what we're just going to be doing, we're going to be deleting this and creating our own. So we can just replace this. We can say verify a user can search for news on the home page. Given, so given is the condition. So given is always the condition that we expect to before we actually execute um, the test. So given a user is on the home page, on on the home page, then when is the action? So I'll be deleting this and off, and then when a user types, when a user enters text Nigeria, when enters Nigeria in the search. So I think the user needs to click on the search first. So I'm just looking at the application again now. So if I go back to BBC home page, a user would need to click on search first. So when a user clicks on search and the user types in the search box and clicks on search, then the result comes out. Okay, so when a user clicks on search link, it's a link actually, on search link, and types then a and user types Nigeria in the search box, then and user clicks on the search button, then news on, then search result is displayed, then search result is displayed. Okay, so this is the first part of it. Now we have our steps. So this is in real life, this is how you create your steps. So once you have your steps, we then need to now generate a step definition file. This is what binds your test to the other parts of your code. Okay, so to generate a step definition, all you need to do first is you need to right click on this and go to generate step definition. Okay, so that will automatically generate this code for you. You can type it manually, but I always recommend you generate it because then you can then fill the gaps in. So this will automatically generate it for you, and if you click on generate, it will ask you where you want to, what you want to name it and where you want to store it. So we would like to store our step definition file in our step definition folder. So I'll go back one folder and then go to step definition folder, and then we'll call this search steps. So search steps, I'll save that. So that will automatically create that for me. So just waiting for that to create. Okay, you can see that has been created now. So we have our step definition file steps called search. So if I click on this and open it up, you can see it's created a code for me, and that code pretty much is what we need to fill in later on to, for all the steps that are required, all the codes that are required for each step that we have. So yeah, right after this, after creating this steps definition, the next thing we're gonna do is to create our context file in our setup folder. So that is like the hooks. That's where we're gonna create, instantiate the, the iObject container and also get the iWebDriver initialized. So yeah, um, if I right click on that and I create a new class, and we'll call it context. Okay, the context class. Okay, so for this class, we're gonna make it public so that we can access it from every other class. And what we're gonna do first, we are gonna create these local variables for iObject container. That's what would help us carry our iWebDriver. Object container. Okay, let's make this private. You can see it's got a squiggly line here. What this simply tells us is that we haven't got the library for the reference installed already. So we are going to be using Body. So we're just going to right click on it, select that. Private. Then we'll call our iObject, iWebDriver. Underscore driver. Also, you can see the squiggly line again. Then we need to now using Selenium. Then also, uh, we also need to initialize our base URL. So private string base. You'll notice that I always start all my variables with a lowercase. So camel casing would start with a lowercase. Okay, and this would be equals to a string, and we can say that string HTTP. You need to make sure you're getting the right string. From what I can see, it's HTTP www.bbc.co.uk. Okay, so now we need to create a constructor and then inject our iObject container in it. So then we're gonna do underscore object container equals to, we assign the object container the variable to this object container here. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna register our object container now. So we do that by typing this piece of code, object container dot register instance, register instance as iWebDriver underscore driver. And then we're gonna call our WebDriver and create a new driver and create a new Chrome driver. New Chrome driver. All right, so you can see the squiggly line again. Click on it. That'll give us ideas of what the issue is. I think we need to also use Selenium Chrome. Okay, so we're good now. All right, so now the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna create a method or a function that would help us start the um, application on the test. So start up our browser, maximize our browser, and also go to the base URL. So I'll call that public void because we don't want it to return anything. So we're calling it void, public void, start application under test. So when I'm naming my methods, I try to name them with names, things that I can understand. Because if we simply name them with sh- acronyms, you can easily forget what it means. So I try to name them things that make sense that anyone reading the code will understand. So what we want to do first, we call the driver, which we've first instantiated there, driver, and what we want to do is we want to manage our time, the time when we click on the browser, the time it takes to load. So we do manage and then timeout, it's called timeout, and then implicit wait. So we're asking the code to wait when you click on the browser, and how long do we want to wait it to wait for? Time span in seconds, and we give it 60 seconds. Okay, so the next thing we do, we ask the browser to go to navigate to the base URL. So navigate, go to URL, and where do you want it to go to? We've already initialized that. We want it to go to the base URL, that string base URL, and then we also want it after going to the base URL, we want our browser to be maximized. So we go driver dot manage dot browse windows dot maximize. Okay. Also, so after the test run, we also need to also need to be able to shut down our browser. So what we do, we also create another function here, public void close application under test. And what do we need here? We just need to call driver dot quit. Okay, so that's our context class created. The next thing we would then do now is to now create our pages. All right, so for every page you create, you need to determine the functions that you can perform within that page, the buttons and everything, and also you need to locate your elements. So the first page we're going to be creating, the first page we're going to be getting on is the home page, the BBC home page. So in this folder, I'll add another class and I'll call it home page. All right, so we create a class and we call it home page. Okay, so that gets created in this home page folder. All right, we're also going to make it public. What we're gonna do first is we're gonna declare all our local variables again. So we're gonna be calling context, context, context. Should we make it private? Private context. Context. And you can see this squiggly line telling me that I need to import because he hasn't got access to context. I need to import it. So what we do, if we click on that, you can see using setup, just click on that and then that fixes it. Then also, we also want to bring in driver, iWebDriver, driver. That's also bringing up a squiggly line. Click on it using Selenium. Okay, so then just like we did earlier, we're also going to create a constructor and then inject both into the constructor. So context, context, I WebDriver, driver. So the reason we're bringing the driver in here is so that we can perform some of the functions within on the page. Um, so yeah, so I would then assign the values. So that would be context local context was the context, and you have driver, driver. Okay, so that should be driver without the. All right. So now, next thing we're gonna do is declare the elements on the page, find the elements on the page, and then you know instantiate them there. So we'll do by. So the first thing we want to do is what are we doing first when we come to this page? When we get to the home page, which is this page that we're in, we are first thing we're gonna do is click on search. So we're gonna have to inspect the elements of search, and then we're going to click on search button or link. Okay, so if I do F12,